All right, we got some great Wisconsin Badgers news for you guys. Of course, this is a Wisconsin program under Luke Fickell this offseason that's kind of slid under the radar, but they made a couple of really nice moves. And this latest one may be its most impressive yet, stealing a big time recruit from a blue blood's own backyard. Let's get into the report, then we'll talk about it more on the other side. This is courtesy of 24/7 Sports. All signs pointed towards Florida State to land Gainesville, Florida Buckholz edge rusher Nicholas Clayton. Coming off an official visit with the Seminoles, FSU was the favorite to land Clayton. That's putting it mildly. He was the heavy favorite. But over the last 24 hours or so, the tide started to turn to Wisconsin, who pulled the three-star prospect out of the Sunshine State and landed a commitment from Clayton on Saturday. Clayton also had scholarship offers from USC, Nebraska, Michigan State, Duke, Kansas, Purdue, Central Florida, Vanderbilt, Houston, South Florida, Illinois, Georgia Tech, and more. Again, so the headline here is that Wisconsin, Luke Fickell, went down into Florida, went down into a really competitive environment and got a Florida State, a college football blue bloods commit, and pulled him to the Midwest, right? This is a massive move for Wisconsin. Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. But first, Badgers fans, in the comment section below, look, we're talking edge defenders, we're talking defensive linemen. So that's why we're going to ask you guys, who is the best, in your opinion, Wisconsin defensive lineman of all time, right? There's a couple guys out there that jump really to the top of the list who have two initials make up their name, but maybe there's someone else that's on the top of your mind. So give us the best Wisconsin Badgers defensive lineman of all time and put them in the comment section below. But Miles, what are your thoughts on this latest news here?
Yeah, Nick, I think this is big news for Wisconsin because if everything aside, like if you look at all of the factors coming into this, Wisconsin should not be able to out recruit a team like Florida State. Florida State was one of the hottest teams in college football last year. Some would say they probably had a very good reason, or they should have gone to the college football playoff. They were undefeated last season. The team has a pretty bright future overall. I think it's a very talented team. On top of that, they had two guys on their defensive line go in the NFL draft this past draft as well. They've developed a lot of really great players. This is a team that is, like you said, a perennial blue blood. I think Wisconsin is a very good team, but as historically, probably not on the same level as a team like Florida State, at least in recent memory. Florida State is that team. Florida State is a team that really has a lot of clout to its name. But Wisconsin and Luke Fickell are showing they are turning the tides. They've come in, they've won this recruit, and they said, hey, we can play with the big dogs too. And I think they are starting to win when they're playing with the big dogs. And I think this is great. And I said, Florida State, they had two guys go off their defensive line in the draft this year. But like you alluded to, Wisconsin is no, slob when it comes to developing elite level pass rushers. You think of the two Watts, you think of Van Ginkel playing for the Dolphins for a while as well. There's a lot of great guys who've come out of Wisconsin as pass rushers. So I think when a guy like Clayton sees that, he says, this is a team historically who's done a lot of great stuff. You can be a superstar at Wisconsin and do just fine. I think Wisconsin's finally got the coaching staff in place to make them a strong contender. And I think people are starting to see this. When you can win a guy, a developmental, very interesting pass rusher away from Florida State, I think this is the first step in starting to get the ball rolling. And now you're going to get bigger and bigger recruits. And next time around, we're going to see like 5 stars, 4-star guys leaving Florida State to come over to Wisconsin.
Under Paul Chris, the recruiting department was an absolute debacle for Wisconsin. Everyone understands that. And it felt like the Wisconsin was always playing defense in the Midwest, right? They were just trying to do what they could just to get any sort of recruits in the Illinois area, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin area. And they just were kind of stuck with whatever guys that Chris and his unfortunate debacle of a recruiting staff were able to secure. And that really limited the talent pool. But now we're seeing under Luke Fickell a very interesting dynamic. Wisconsin is now a national player. They're going on the offense in terms of recruiting. And if you look at the 2025 class, it's early, but here are the top guys from top to bottom so far of the top prospects that Wisconsin have earned a commitment from and where they're from. So the first one, Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's Posa. Logan Powell, he's from Phoenix, Arizona. Obviously not Wisconsin. Cameron Miller, New Jersey. Nolan Davenport, Ohio. The first Wisconsin guys until Michael Roski. But then right after that, you've got a guy from Tampa, Florida, right? So again, you're talking about a program that's taking a national approach. They're going not just regional, right? But they're going across the country. They're going on the offense. And I think this new paradigm under Wisconsin will really help them out and allow them to just sort of change the dynamic. Because it is one of those things when it comes to recruiting battles, it's almost a war within a war, a battle within a battle. Certain programs know other programs traditionally have weaknesses and strengths, right? And so over the past half decade or so, Wisconsin was such on the defensive in terms of recruiting. They had no real great offensive game. A lot of programs didn't even worry about, hey, listen, if Wisconsin offered a recruit or if a Wisconsin called a recruit in the state of Florida, Florida State would be like, they don't have the ability to flip this guy. We don't have to worry about him at all. That's changing, right? And that poses a really strong advantage for Wisconsin because if they can win on a national level while continuing to do well, they've done a great job in the Big Ten region as well. This program will very quickly become a top 15, top 10 program once again, because we know Luke Fickell can get it done. We know his coaching staff can get it done. We saw it in Cincinnati. They're a smart group. They just need the players to back it up. They need the pipeline of talent, like you said, to really build out a deep, talented roster. And so far this offseason, we're starting to see it really come into fruition. And because of this, I think the future is really bright in Madison.